Okay, let's go ahead and dive into it. So, welcome. We call this the Align Productivity webinar. And the word productivity doesn't really sound too appealing, but what does productivity actually mean, right? And so often when we're more productive, it generally translates to more income, and it translates to this inner peace, this inner feeling of knowing that you actually did some meaningful work, that you actually moved that needle forward on your life and your business instead of feeling like you're running around every day. And at the end of the day, you look back and realize, what did I actually accomplish? Maybe you just got distracted a lot. Maybe a lot of things came up. Maybe you just kind of pushed paper around and that felt like you were accomplishing something. But then you look back 90 days, 6 months from now, and wonder like, why am I not making any progress on my life and business? And so I'm going to get into why productivity is important, some of the benefits of productivity, and we're going to talk about that in a moment as well too, right? And the impact that it can have. I work with a lot of small business owners just like you, and I work with a lot of independent real estate agents as well, and people that just feel like the day's running them, that they're not in control of the day. They're getting pulled by distractions. They're not really clear on what they're supposed to be doing, on their goals, on what they're supposed to be working on. And so there's a lot that kind of revolves around this topic. Now, before we get into this webinar and the content, I want to kind of do some housekeeping. That's going to take me about 5 or 10 minutes here, and then we'll actually get into the core content as well. A little bit about myself. My name is Dylan. I'm a coach here at the Caden Academy, and my specialty is really working with small business owners to increase their productivity through this aligned productivity framework. And we're going to talk about that tonight. That entails what we call clarity, execution, alignment, and energy. And I'll explain what those mean in a little bit. We're going to give you some practical tools and things that you can actually leave this webinar with and implement today to start getting some traction, some change, some free resources as well. And then the other thing that I work with a lot is helping people move from what we call unconscious creation to conscious creation. And so, what that really means is that so many people go through life and they go through their business and they just kind of operate with this built in programming unconsciously, and they feel like life is happening to them, right? And what I help people do is understand and remember that you are not a victim of life, that you're not a victim of circumstances, and to move into what we call conscious creation, and to be the one who designs your own life, and to see that unfold in front of you, and to realize that you do have control over that as well too. And so I work with people both on a business level and a personal level. I've actually been coaching in training. I ran a very successful large business. I've always been an entrepreneur myself for pretty much my entire life. I owned a real estate company, which was kind of my main work for close to 20 years. And one of the things that people had always admired about me within that work was my discipline, my self-discipline, my focus, my ability to have structure, my ability to just seamlessly somehow figure out how to just accomplish so much every single day. And that's because I move through my day with the principles. It's very disciplined. I move through the day with the principles that we're going to teach you here, and I don't allow distractions. I don't allow noise. I get very focused. I work in jam sessions, and I make a lot of progress. And that's something that people have always admired me for. And it's the work that I do today is helping teach people how to get traction, how to move that needle, how to get progress. And I've been coaching and teaching people now through multiple courses, through multiple books, through one-on-one coaching, through webinars like this now since 2018. We've had thousands of students through this stuff. And I only say that because when you work with a lot of people in that capacity, you realize there's kind of a core set of things that seem to pop up over and over and over again. And we're going to address some of those in the webinar tonight, okay? The goal of this webinar, and I'll be reading from some of my notes here as well, but the goal of this webinar is to give some practical tips to you all on Aligned Productivity Framework, but to most importantly, to leave this call, not with fluff, not with like, okay, that was a nice 90 minutes of the night, that was entertainment. No, I want you all to leave this webinar with systems and processes, ideas, tactics, maybe a new train of thought, something that's going to accelerate you forward when you get off of this, okay? Um, this is an interactive webinar. And so I'd like to actually get through the content as quickly as possible because I feel like the best transformation, the best conversations occur, excuse me, I got something in my eye, but occur in that one-on-one coaching. So at the end of this webinar tonight, we're going to actually move into that one-on-one coaching. You know, this, depending on how many questions and things like that we get, generally this takes about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we open it up, and sometimes I even stay longer for the Q&A, but I really think that that Q&A is where the magic sauce happens, okay? But this is interactive, so feel free to turn on your webcams, feel free to chime in. If you want to just hold your questions to the end, to the Q&A, you're welcome to do that. I'll help keep us on pace, okay? Again, I want to cover some groundwork here, and I'll start with that, and then I'll move into kind of sharing my screen with you, and we'll get into giving you some tips and techniques and strategies on the 4 pillars of aligned productivity. But I'm just going to read from my notes here for you guys, and I'd like to open this up with some questions, some things for you all to think about as well. Um, and so, to start us off, have you ever ended the day exhausted? But you look back and you realize you didn't actually move forward on the things that matter the most. That's kind of why a lot of people join this webinar, right? Maybe you were pulled into emails, calls, other people's priorities. Maybe you got distracted or spread too thin. At the end of the day, you're thinking to yourself, I was busy, but I wasn't productive. And I'm hoping that we can solve some of that this evening with everybody. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That's actually the number one reason why many people join this webinar is to have some sort of sense, to take back some sort of control in their life and business. Um, and my goal is to help you guys do that, okay? So you know you're in the right place if you're looking to take back control of your focus. Who's on the webinar tonight? Show me some hands or put in the chat. I'm ready to take back control of my focus. Yes, perfect. If you're trying to get crystal clear on your top priorities, one of the things that we really, really focus on is that pillar number 1, and that's clarity. Because if we don't get clear on what it is we're trying to achieve, then we're going to be like a boat that's gone to sail from America to Africa or wherever without any sort of map or GPS. You just, hey, wherever the wind blows you is where you're going to go. And we want to stop living that way, right? So if you want to get traction, you want to create momentum, that's what we're going to show you tonight. And finally, if you're looking to create consistent progress, and here's a big one, without burning out. You know, I spent a lot of time in business in burnout mode. I was the guy that would work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, and then my life self imploded. My health self imploded, my mental health self imploded, my physical health self imploded, my marriage self imploded, business self imploded, you name it. So when they say that you can't have work-life balance, that's something that you want to kind of just, you know, let in one ear and out the other because it's important to have that balance. And we're going to show you how to create that balance in your life as well too. Because the tendency for a lot of us, especially as entrepreneurs, we're always trying to achieve more income, work towards our goals. Um, but what's the old saying? Where energy goes, attention flows. And so a lot of times in our businesses and as entrepreneurs, we get super focused on growing our business and we're willing to do whatever it takes. We've got a lot on the line. But then all the other areas of our life start to suffer. Our relationships start to suffer. Um, our marriages start to suffer. Our friendships start to suffer. Our relationships with our children, if any of you are on this webinar tonight and you have children, start to suffer because we're putting all of our time and energy into this one area. We've got everything on the line, and it doesn't have to be that way. I was a product of that in my own life, and that's why I'm here talking to you all tonight. Um, that we want to pull the reins back on that. We want to move away from force. We want to move away from bending and pulling and trying to bend life into existence and bend results into existence and just work harder and just grind more. And all that leads to burnout. At some point, it's going to lead to burnout. And maybe that point is tonight. Maybe that's why a lot of you are here. But eventually, it will lead to burnout. And that's not good when that happens. okay? Because usually it's a total implosion, whether it be your health, your relationships, or your business, and ultimately affects your business. You think that by working harder and grinding more, that it will all be okay, right? But it leads to burnout, and that's what we don't want. Anybody here, raise your hand if you're tired of having burnout. You don't want burnout anymore, okay? Don't get to that point. If you haven't been to that point, don't be the person that has to find it out the hard way, right? There's a better way. We call it aligned productivity. And by the way, it's not just aligned productivity, but we want to help you balance. We want to help you balance those areas out and still make progress. You realize that for most people, when they work an 8-hour workday, they're actually only doing a few hours of real, actual, meaningful, needle moving work. The rest of the day is engulfed in walking around, talking, moseying, checking emails, checking social media accounts, talking to your coworkers and colleagues, getting lunch, taking a break, and you're actually doing very little day by day in terms of meaningful work. And we're going to teach you how to get your work done in 90-minute jam sessions, how to be focused in those jam sessions and do more in a few hours than most people do in an 8, 9, 10-hour workday, right? And so then you have the rest of the day free to you to either relax, do something new, do a hobby, spend time with your family, you name it. And so we're going to say, hey, if you're going to commit 8 hours a day to working, then let's get hyper focused and zeroed in and make it the most productive those first hours of the day before all the distractions start to get to you. Let's make those the most productive day time that we can possibly use. Let's maximize that time. So we only have to really do 3 or 4 hours of focus intense work, and a lot of times that equates to days of work for anybody else. People always ask me, Dylan, how do you get so much done? You're producing so many videos, so many content, doing podcasts, traveling, building businesses. Because I work in what I'm going to teach you tonight. I go really hard for very short burst, and I move that needle as much as I can, and then I have the rest of the day available to me. Whether I want to do another session or work on something else or just relax, I can end my day knowing that I've done more in 3 or 4 hours than most people have done, quite frankly, probably all week, right? And that's where we want to move you into. We want to move you into that space, okay? Um, Another question for you all here. Have you ever felt yourself saying, I don't have enough time? Raise your hand. That's a common one we get. I don't have enough time. But the thing is you have the same time. I have the same time. Mark Zuckerberg and all the billionaires of the world, whether you like them or not, or Elon Musk or any of those guys have all the same time. But what is the difference? We all have 24 hours in a day. The difference is that, and I spent 2 years studying billionaires, and it was fascinating because billionaires got hyper focused on the 1 to 2 things, maybe 3 at the most, that was their specialty, that made the biggest impact on their business. They didn't get involved in all the administrative stuff and all the other low end type of stuff, right? In the marketing and this and that and that. They got hyper focused on the things that would make the biggest difference in their life and their business, and they shut everything else out. And there's a lot to learn from that. And so, like we teach our clients in the Aligned Productivity program, and that's what we're going to help you tonight. Identify the 1 to 3 needle movers in your life that are going to actually make meaningful and move that needle of progress forward. That if you put 90 minutes a day on each one of those, it's going to make the biggest difference. So 90 days back, you look and say, wow, look at what I accomplished. To get hyper focused, it's like a doctor or a surgeon who is going into surgery. He's not spending time consulting and opening up the patient and cleaning the patient and cleaning the operating room after the fact. No, the doctor comes in, and the highest and best use to his time is his one skill set. It's doing this one particular thing and letting everybody else handle the rest. And so what we've got to find out is, what is that one thing in your life or your business? That's what we got to get clear on. What is that one specialty, that one thing that's going to make the biggest impact on your life and business, that you can go in, execute every single day, and move on. And we're going to teach you how to outsource, automate, or delegate the things that are not important. And with AI and technology today, it's easier than ever to do that, okay? But this is a topic that I like to cover here because when we talk about productivity, people are like, who cares about productivity? But if you really think about it, a lot of the times that you're feeling behind, the reason why your income is not where you need it to be, the reason why your business is not where you need it to be, it's most likely a productivity issue. And from there, it's most likely a clarity issue. You're not clear on what you need to be doing every single day, right? And you have old habits and old thought patterns that are getting in the way and stopping you. And so productivity is extremely important. The first thing is number one, it reduces stress. When you're clear on what matters the most, you stop spinning your wheels and you start feeling in control versus out of control. Second, it gives you back your time and freedom. How many people on this webinar tonight want time and freedom back? You know, to go from working 8 hours a day to doing 3 to 4 hours a day and accomplishing 2 to 3 times more in that 3 to 4 hours than you would in an 8 hour workday and having the rest of the day available to you, right? Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about freeing yourself from distractions. And that's more prevalent in today's world than ever before. I mean, we are like living in, distraction amusement park, right? With everything today. Information overload, social media overload, content overload. There's endless distractions on your time and energy. Third, this is huge. It directly impacts your income. When you consistently focus on the right priorities, you create momentum, you create results, and you create growth. Okay. And then finally, it gives you something deeper fulfillment. At the end of the day, you feel like you're living on purpose and not just surviving. Okay. And the truth is, none of this happens by accident. Productivity and high performance aren't skills taught to most of us in any school. They have to be learned, they have to be practiced, they have to be internalized. And sometimes you need a coach on your side as well, too, to kind of help you look from the outside and say, hey, John, Pete, Amanda, whoever you are, focus and hold you accountable. Put a plan in place and hold you accountable to that plan, okay? Um, so aligned productivity is about reclaiming control of your life, no longer living on someone else's timeline or expectations, and no longer being pulled off course by distractions. There's an old saying that says either you're running in either you're running your day or somebody else is running the day for you. And you do not want to be the person that's allowing other people to run the day for you. You don't want to be the person who's responding to distraction, to fire, to put out here, to put out a fire there, and so on and so on. You want to be in control of your day. You want to say, no, from the hours of 9 to noon, this is when I'm focused. From noon to 3, this is when I check emails and respond to things. I often tell the story of when I was a real estate agent, and at the time it was taboo, and it's probably still taboo today. But I said to myself, I want to travel. And I said to myself, I wonder what would happen if I decided to say I don't want to work the weekends, which is like the number one days most real estate agents work. I don't want to work the weekends. And I want to work Monday through Friday, and I want to be done by 4. I wonder what would happen. And most people panic, especially if you're a real estate agent. How could you ever do that? Well, I designed a system in which I only worked on listings. And so in the morning, I would prospect, again, focused, hyper focused, 2 hours every morning, prospecting, setting appointments. Then I'd spend another hour on lead follow up. So all of the listings that didn't convert, I only focused on taking listings, not buyers, so that I didn't have to run buyers all around town on weekends or when they got off of work and things like that, right? No, I would take listings and let all the other buyers agents work for me so that I could be free on the weekends while all the buyers agents were showing properties for me. I did my prospecting in the morning, I did my lead follow-up, I went on 1 to 2 appointments, and then I went home by 4. And you know what? I went from selling 4 homes a year to 70 homes a year consistently doing that. And I tell you that because you are free to design the life that you want to design. You're free to design the schedule that you want to design. And when you put those expectations out there, people respect them. People will follow them. People started to know, okay, Dylan returns phone calls and emails between 12 and 3. People started to wait by the phone after one or two times, realizing that I was sticking with that for me to call. And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about here when it comes to execution is setting the right expectations with your clients, with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues. You're in control of your life. You're in control of your schedule. You get to be in control of that, not other people. Okay? That's it's just don't you got to start switching your thinking. I'm going to lift my chair up here a little bit cuz I'm slipping down on you all. So that's going to be one of the things we talk about when we get into the execution part of this, okay? It's about getting crystal clear on your goals, building the habits and inner framework to support them, and ending and entering the flow state each day where focused action becomes natural. When you align your focus with your true priorities, results start to take care of themselves. I want to repeat that. When you align your focus with your true priorities, results start to take care of themselves, okay? So obviously tonight we've got a very short window. I can't get super in depth on these, but that's what the live Q&A is for. And then I'm going to also extend an offer to each of you on this webinar tonight to join me in a free 20-minute coaching call. It's not like, I've been on those calls where it's like, hey, sign up for my coaching call and it's free. It's a $600 value. And then you get on the call and they're just trying to sell you their products. I don't do that. Okay. I take the call. You're talking to me and I'm acutely attuned into you and your needs. I'm not selling you on anything. If you want to join what else, we offer down the road, that's up to you. But my interest and my goal is in genuinely helping you create that clarity and create that progress in your business and your life. And so take advantage of that. It's going to be one of the things that you get for being on this webinar tonight, okay? So I'm going to move into actually sharing my screen here with you. And we'll get to that part of the section here. So let me figure out how to do that. We're going to go to screen share, screen number 2 over here. So I got to switch my direction. Okay, cool. So let me see. Let me just make sure everything's working here. Can you give me, let me pull up the chat. Can you give me a thumbs up or something in the chat that says you can see my screen too? You are screen sharing. You can all still hear me? Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. So it looks like it's working. So let's go ahead and dive into this as well. Again, just to kind of get out of the way, at the end of this webinar, I really hope that you stick around for the Q&A because that's where the magic happens. A couple things to do right now, and I'll remind you of this at the end as well. To get the most out of this webinar and to get the most out of our content, I strongly encourage you to do these 4 things, and I'll go through them very quickly. Number 1, join our newsletter. So when you join our newsletter at cadenacademy.com, you're going to immediately get subscribed to like 70 plus emails and almost a full year's worth of content and growing. Every Friday, I sit down and add more content to that. And it's content that helps you in your mindset, helps you in your business. It's all productivity content. I'm not selling you anything. It's a really, really good resource to be subscribed to. Okay. Then join our Inner Edge community. That's basically right now, it's a free community. That might change down the road, but for now, it's a free community where you can engage with me. You can say, hey, Dylan, I'm stuck here. I need clarity there. This is happening. That's not happening. It's a wonderful space to be a part of. It's hosted on Facebook, and that's called the Inner Edge Community. You can join that at thecadenacademy.com as well, too. We've already talked about joining that 20-minute free strategy call. Again, I'm not selling you anything. I'm sitting there and I'm listening to what it is, that number one goal, that number one priority in your business, and I'm helping you cut through the noise. I'm helping you get right to the point of what you need to do over the next 90 days to move the needle. And then for those who do want to join me in our 12-week one-on-one coaching program, this is for people who want to accelerate their growth very quickly because you got a coach on your side. You got me holding you accountable every single week. We have a 1-hour call together. It's a 12-week program. There is an opportunity to have a money back guarantee on it as well. So in that scenario, you don't have anything to lose. But for webinar participants only, you will get an offer for 20% off of that coaching. So it's a big discount. So if you find yourself leaving tonight's webinar and saying, you know what, it's worth it to me to invest a little bit to really have a breakthrough here in this area, you'll get 20% off. So make sure you do that as well. So you heard me talk about the aligned productivity framework. And what is that? This is something that we hold our coaching clients accountable to week over week. And we always go back to it. We go back to the 4 pillars of aligned productivity. The first pillar being clarity, meaning to get very, very clear, down to the nitty gritty about what are the 1 to 3 items that are going to move the needle the furthest along in the next 90 days in your personal life or your business. Without clarity, we get nowhere. And so it always starts with clarity. So clarity is number 1. We spend the first coaching session, sometimes the second coaching session. Sometimes you get off track and we've got to, during coaching session 6 or 7, remind you of the clarity that we put in place. And so clarity is the first pillar. Execution. So once we get clear on what it is that we want to accomplish and we move in 90-day cycles, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But once we get clear on what we want to accomplish, then we've got to execute on it. And there's many ways to do that. We'll talk about that tonight. And then this is the part that I get really excited about. It's moving away from that traditional hustle and grind culture. Just work yourself to the bones. Work yourself 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. Sacrifice your marriage, sacrifice your relationships, sacrifice your friendships and your whatever, right? And we move you into that alignment. We move you away from force into alignment to begin to attract to you, instead of forcing and grabbing at life, to begin to attract to you the people, the opportunities that you need in your life to make progress, right? And there's more to it than just that. We'll cover more in a minute as well. And then the energy side. You can't begin to execute. You can't begin to get traction on your goals if you're lethargic, if you don't have the energy, if you don't have the drive, if you don't have the enthusiasm, if you're just kind of blah, right? And so we get into the energy side of it, of tips and tricks on how can we keep our energy up? How can we keep our mind up? How can we live from an energetic standpoint? We'll talk about that as well too, okay? But let's kind of get into this core teaching. Let's get into this first pillar, that being clarity. And this is the most important. We just said that. And one of the things that I did is I created a resource for all of you on the webinar tonight. It's called the Clarity Worksheet. And so I used to have people on the coaching call. I would take somebody and say, hey, or on this webinar and say, hey, what's one thing you want to get clear on? And then walk you all through it. That usually happens in the Q&A. And so what we're covering here is I want to give you guys a resource where you can actually go through this clarity. So when you click on that, you can go to this clarity worksheet and go through it. So take some time after this webinar tonight. If you're unclear, I like to move in what we call needle movers. And again, that's the 1 to 3 things that are going to make the biggest impact on your personal life or your business in the next 90 days. Okay? And that's what we want to get clear on. And this worksheet is going to help you as you go through it, figure out what those are. So if, people go through these phases. I've been there many times. Okay, what do I do next? What do I need to get clear on? What do I need to recalibrate? What's the next move? And we work in 90-day cycles because 90-day cycles are much more obtainable for the mind. People can generally adhere much better knowing, okay, I've got a 90-day cycle where I got to focus, I got to execute, I got to get in alignment and go. After 90 days, if you set a goal and you're getting no progress, you're getting no traction, we can monitor now through coaching hundreds of students and clients, and you can do this yourself. That energy, that momentum, that excitement just drops off a cliff. So your mind needs little wins. You can't set, they always say you can't set two goals too big, but you actually can, because if you set a goal too big, then your subconscious mind starts talking you out of it. start saying, well, just, that's too big. You're never going to do that. You're never going to get traction. And then you just subconsciously, for a lot of people, do things to avoid achieving that goal because it's too much. And so you want to set these small, not even small, but these obtainable goals and work in these 90-day cycles because that's going to set you up for the most probability to achieve them, especially from a subconscious standpoint as well. And so we help clients sit down in this first pillar and get super clear on what is it. We call them needle movers. What is it that's going to move that needle the most? And there's going to be some surface level things that pop up, but go deeper. We do what we call dig deeper questions. So, why is that important to you? What are you solving here? Ultimately, what's that going to do for you? Get it down to that root thing that you need to focus on every day for the next 90 days. And then you'll be able to look back and say, wow, look at the progress that I made on those goals. Okay, that could be health goals. That could be relationship goals. That could be business goals, revenue goals, income goals, all types of things. And so I encourage you all to go through this, and it's going to help you identify those needle movers, getting very, very clear. Okay, this sheet is something that I would hand to you as a one on one client. It would be something that we would discuss on our first call together. Because without clarity, again, we're like that ship that's sailing from America to Europe or Mexico or wherever. And if we don't have clarity, if we don't have GPS, if we don't have a map as to where we're going, we may end up in Antarctica. We're just going to go wherever the wind blows. Okay? And a lot of you have been living your life like that. You've been going wherever the wind blows. And we want to move away from that. Okay? So take a little drink there real quick. Some reflection prompts. This is just a good resource. And then if you want to work from a journal, there's a physical journal that you can get as well. And there's a QR code for that also. Or you can just get a notebook and write in a notebook as well. Okay. So that resource is there for you. And if anybody wants to grab it, you can also go to just cadenacademy.com. And if you scroll down all the way to this, well, there's your Productivity Jumpstart Challenge. That's a good one. There's where you join the Inner Edge community. There is a section in here where you can apply for coaching. But all the way at the bottom, there's this section called the Valuable Courses. And there's a little freebie section that people skip over. And there's lots of good freebies in there. But one of those freebies is that goal clarity worksheet as well. So that's in the free section at cadenacademy.com. Okay. Let's go back to the webinar here real quick. Yeah, we already talked about that. For example, without clarity, it's like a ship at sea blowing in the wind, and we got to get you to stop blowing in the wind. Okay. So can you guys put for me in the chat, if you already know, what's the number one thing that you need clarity on, or the number one thing that you want to accomplish in the next 90 days that's going to make the biggest difference on your life or business going forward? And maybe you don't know. That would be a good question for the Q&A. But if you've got an idea, put those in the chat. I want to see them so I can start thinking about them as we move into the Q&A as well too, okay? So once we get the clarity out of the way, once we get clear on our goals, then we move into the execution part. And I want to share with you guys some proven things around execution that have helped myself and ultimately helped a lot of the clients that we work with as well too. And this is just a few. And again, the Q&A will be a great place to dive into getting you clear and then giving you some practical tips on that in terms of execution. But one of the few strategies here, just a handful that I want to share with you guys that make the most difference is operating from a daily schedule. As simple as that sounds, it's one of the most important things you can do. And I've learned over now 2 decades in business to not get too strict on your schedule, to allow it to be fluid. And that's part of the alignment side of this work. Getting fluid and not too strict. It's like a tree in the wind that bends with the wind. If the tree were rigid and too rigid, it would just snap, right? And so that's what happens to a lot of us, doesn't it? Right? And so we don't want that to happen. And so I've learned in my own business and with the clients that we coach that you have to allow flexibility within your schedule. But the most important thing is making sure that at some point in that day that you're accomplishing your item number 2 here, your jam sessions on the 1 to 3 things that are going to make the biggest impact in your business. Now, we generally start with recommending to clients that you tackle these most important things and these most important jam sessions first thing in the morning. Um, and the reason for that is because it's much easier then to deal with any distractions or things that pop up in the middle of the day, which often happen in the afternoon, and sometimes it's before you get ready to end your day. It's much easier to deal with those and put all of that off until noon. I used to have a coach that would tell me, Dylan, there's no problem that can't wait until afternoon. And that is very, very true. And so for me, mentally, I've just blocked off, hey, I start my day at 9 a.m. And from the hours of 9 to noon, you can't get a hold of Dylan, right? It's phones off, text are off. I even have email filters so I don't get distracted by an email or a problem or a fire that comes in while I'm working or doing business or sending emails out or prospecting or designing something. I don't even want to see those and get pulled off track. And so everything bypasses my inbox and goes into a filter that I then check at the times that I've said I'm going to check them. And you guys can do that too. So that when I'm in my email, sending emails out, that in prospecting, I'm not getting distracted by something that comes in. Because what do most people do? They sit down in the morning, they're open their inbox, they get bombarded with a list of things to do and or problems, and then the whole day from there forward is ruined. And so that's why we talk about, and that's why I recommend to our clients, you identify the 1 to 3 things that you need to work on that are going to make the biggest difference, and you knock those out before noon. And then everything else afternoon doesn't matter because you've done the most important work. And so scheduling. So a good morning schedule is just like I said, work from 9 to noon, maybe leave an hour in the afternoon or two for administrative work and or prospecting and or appointments. Leave the afternoon open for that. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I have a dentist appointment or I got to take my kids somewhere in the morning. That's fine. Do that at 9 or 10 and then move into an afternoon jam session. So you kind of switch it around. You allow that fluidity. But operating from a strong, disciplined daily schedule is absolutely key in terms of getting control back of your day. And I'm happy to expand on that with you guys in the Q&A as well too, and help it apply to you individually. But schedule some time to do your priorities, and then have some time to do some admin and have some time to go on appointments or whatever else you need to do, marketing, follow up, that type of stuff, right? Now, once you get clear on your goals to the 1 to 3 needle movers that are going to make the biggest impact on your business and life moving forward, I tell clients to work on each of those in 90-minute jam sessions. And there's a very specific reason for that. Is because if you work in them in blocks of an hour, it usually takes you 10 minutes to 15 minutes to even get focused and into the work, and then maybe 5 to 10 minutes to come out of it. And you really only have about 30 to 40 minutes of undistracted focused time. And that's not enough to really get traction on anything. And so I recommend to a lot of our clients to move into these 90-minute jam sessions because now you have about an hour to an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes, and that is plenty time to get a lot of traction on those needle movers. And that's where you really start to see yourself going from, very tiny gains to big swings and big quantum leaps because now every day you've scheduled 90 minutes at the minimum around these needle movers and you're getting massive momentum and massive action on those. And so I always tell clients to work on those needle movers in 90-minute jam sessions. This is a big one today. Eliminate distractions. Eliminate this is the number one thing I deal with clients is basically just like a fly swatter. Helping people eliminate their distractions, putting systems and processes in place like I just described where emails skip your inbox and then you choose when you're going to go dive into them. You don't even see them, get distracted by them. Put your phone on do not disturb and airplane mode in those most important times in those jam sessions. So you're not getting texts, you're not getting pings, you're not getting notifications. Your ring bell isn't going off on you, whatever those ring cameras are, right? All that type of stuff. There's filters that you can put on your web browser that will block you out from visiting sites like Facebook and YouTube and all these things that have a tendency to pull you off track. And so eliminating distraction starts with identifying them. And so one of the things that I would encourage you all to do on this webinar tonight is to identify the top distractions that you see over and over and over again in your life, and then put a plan in place to box them in, eliminate them, destroy them, put them to the side for a certain amount, whatever you need to do. And that would be a good thing to work with me on in the strategy call as well too. Because, people usually have a clarity problem and or a distraction problem or a combination of both, right? Distractions is a big one today. And so I'm happy to help you all identify those distractions, especially in the Q&A, and put plans and systems in place to eliminate them. But it really just starts with sitting down after this webinar and saying, oh yeah, I always get pulled off track with this, or I get distracted in the morning, or I get distracted here, or my husband, or my wife, or my friend, or my boss, or whoever comes in at this time, and whatever it is, write it down, and then write 1 to 2, maybe even 3 ways in which you're going to eliminate that or contain that distraction while you focus on those needle movers. Okay? And I know we're moving through this fast and the furious, but again, we have limited time, and so that's what the Q&A is for, and that's what that follow-up strategy call is for as well. And I really hope to see a lot of you on that. Take me up on that offer. We already touched on this very briefly, but setting the proper expectations with people. Setting up autoresponders in email that say, hey, thank you for contacting me. Just so you know, I'm not anywhere near my computer after 5 p.m. or on the weekends or holidays. You probably got some of those if you tried to email me. When you go on vacation, putting the autoresponders on. I just have a perpetual autoresponder on my email. Hey, thanks for contacting me. Just so you know, I'm only working during these times, like 10 to 3, or whatever it is, right, that you decide you want to set. I'm not in the office on weekends or holidays. And I reply to emails and phone calls between, say, noon and 3, whatever you want to set. So now I'm setting the expectations. It only takes once or twice for people to start to remember those. And then what happens is people anticipate. Now they make themselves available for you because they know, okay, the only time I'm getting a hold of Dylan is between 12 and 3. I'm going to set that time aside so I don't miss his call no more. Setting those expectations on your voicemail. I just left a voicemail for an electrician the other day. It said, I just gave you a generic sample. Hey, Tom, it's Dylan. Just to let you know, today I'm a little bit busy, but if you try to catch me between the hours of 12 and 3, I'll be available. Or if it's more convenient for you, just shoot me a text what day and time works for you, and I'll put that on my calendar. So it's having conversations with that, anywhere from like leaving a voicemail. Going back to the schedule topic, they always say for anything to happen, you must schedule it. And so, Dylan, how are you so productive all the time? Well, I schedule time to do content and automate it to go out all week. So I sit down every Monday, I write my content, takes me an hour, and I automate it, and then it goes out every week. Same thing with my emails. Fridays, I have scheduled to do content from the early morning till noon. So I sit down and I shoot new content. Everything is scheduled, vacations scheduled, eating scheduled. I'm a little extreme, right? But every part of my life is scheduled. And so for it to happen, you have to schedule it. If you want to take time out to do errands, okay, I'm going to do errands on Thursday between 12 and 4. Now, if an appointment comes up, I can say, oh, let me check my calendar. I can't do 12 to 4 because I got to go take care of these things, but I have these days and times available. I've been doing a lot of podcasts lately, and so, I'll say, let me check my calendar. Oh, I've got to do this at this day and time, that time. Okay, I have these 3 days available to do the podcast or whatever it might be. And so operating with the right expectations and taking control of your day, taking control of your time, taking control of your schedule, anything as simple as like leaving a voicemail for somebody. Hey, John, been trying to get a hold of you. Sorry, I missed you. Best time to get back to me today is around 5 to 6, okay? If not, I miss your call, just shoot me a text. Let me know what day and time works available for you. I'll put it on the calendar and I'll call you back then, right? So we're not playing phone tag back and forth, and I don't have to worry about missing this person or missing that person. So there's a lot of ways that you can set proper expectations with people and in your business as well. Hey, I don't work weekends, you know, I don't work after 4 p.m. It's that simple, right? Whatever it might be. And then people start to conform and move around that. Try it, treat it as an experiment, and you'll see for yourself. Another tip under execution is what we measure and track, we can improve. And so when you're in coaching, that's one of the things we really work on is measuring and tracking your weekly performance. What went well, what didn't go well, how much time was engaged in income producing activities or on your needle movers, how much time wasn't, and where do we need to go next. Um, I've been doing a lot of marketing lately myself, and I'm constantly tracking and monitoring what's working and what's not working. Now, if I don't track and monitor that, if I don't track and monitor click-through ratios and cost per conversion and all of these other things, um, then I'm just shooting blindly in the dark, and I can never move towards that optimization. And I'm always just kind of blindly chasing my tail. And I think a lot of people experience them themselves in their lives and their business. And it's not sexy. It's not exciting to sit down and do this stuff, but if you never track performance, it's like if you were unhealthy or you were sick, you're going to track your progress in terms of healing, would you not? Right? Most people would. So, you can't begin to heal, you can't begin to make progress unless you're tracking that, unless you're tracking your progress, unless you're putting a plan in place and executing on it and saying, okay, that worked, let's keep going. Or nope, stop, that didn't work. So you don't end up 6 months down the road spending a whole bunch of money you didn't need to spend, chasing your tails in circle and wondering why you're not having business. You don't need very long to know whether something's working or not. With Facebook marketing, it's like 5 days, and then you figure out, okay, is this ad going to work or not going to work? You can run in your business 90-day cycles. Let me run a promotion and see over the next 90 days, if this angle is working or not, and then cut it off. You can do that with your employees. Let me give this employee a 30-day window, probation window, and if it's not working and these performance metrics aren't being met, cut them off before they go 6 months to a year and cost you a ton of money. You don't need a lot of time to figure out if something's working or not. If it's going to work, it works right away. If it's not going to work, it doesn't work right away. Whatever. You understand what I'm saying? But you can't begin to make those changes unless you're tracking performance in all areas. This is a big one that a lot of people gloss over, and that's consistency and momentum. And so the reason why we tell our clients, and you all should adapt this as well, is you have to be consistent with your action on your needle movers every day to build that momentum. It's like if you had a 10,000 pound boulder that you're trying to push up a hill, it's inertia. And so you're pushing, 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 pushing. If you take your hands off, it's going to fall back down to the bottom of the hill, and you're going to have to do all that work over again. And when we're trying to get traction in our business and our personal lives and on our goals, it takes consistent, repeated action every day for the days that you've set, whether it's 3, 4, 5 days a week, take 2 days or one day off, whatever you want to do, and repeat over and over and over to build momentum, to build consistency. What a lot of people do is they have inconsistent actions every single day. They're just going wherever the wind blows them. And therefore, their life and their business have inconsistent results. So if you want to create consistency in your life and business, you've got to have consistency. You've got to show up every day, hit repeat every day until the results start coming in. That's part of being a business owner. That's part of being an entrepreneur. And whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur or not, let's say, a lot of people have challenges in their relationships or their marriage. If you want to have a better relationship and a better marriage, you can't just operate on a whim. You've got to take consistent action. You've got to have you got to build that momentum. You can't just sit around and hope for things to change. Okay? So that's very, very important. Building that consistency, building that momentum. Like I tell my clients, if you miss a day working on those needle movers, let's say Wednesday just, you know, totally skipped. Well, you're taking your hand off that boulder and you're gonna fall back down. But you can catch it before all it gets to the ground, and you can do a makeup day. You can say, okay, I took a day off, but I'm going to work an extra 3 or 4 hours on this day. Or I'm going to come in, instead of taking 2 days off this week, I'm going to come in an extra day and make up for it. So I can keep that consistency. I can keep that momentum building. One thing that came to mind as I was talking to you all, a lot of people deal with, stress, the stress of building a business, the stress of the work. And some of the things that help eliminate that stress is eliminating those distractions so that you're making progress every day. You're not falling behind. Setting the proper expectations with people, with clients, with friends, with family, with spouses, with whatever it is you're in your life you're working on. Because a lot of times the stress, the confusion is created because we haven't set the right expectations. When we set the right expectations and we begin to design our day, design our schedule the way we want it to be, that creates time to do other things and stick within that framework, a lot of that stress disappears. When we put systems in place to have the emails and the problems skip our inbox and only check them at the times we need to check them, a lot of that stress disappears because we're not even seeing it. We have a time for that. You're stressed because your day's out of control. You have no control over your expectations. You have no control over your schedule. You're letting the day run you. You're letting people run you. But you don't have to. You can stop that. And hopefully, something I've said to you tonight sparks that. And then the other thing that we do with clients in our coaching and in our programs is we help identify, like that story of the doctor I told you earlier in this webinar. What is your specialty? Not everybody wants to be the bookkeeper. Not everybody wants to be the marketer. Not everybody. What is it that you do the best? Are you an electrician and the electrical work is your craft? Then you shouldn't be doing the admin. You shouldn't be doing the bookkeeping. You shouldn't be doing the appointments. You shouldn't be doing the marketing, right? Are you a real estate agent? Well, your highest and best use is prospecting and going on appointments. Shouldn't be doing the admin, shouldn't handle the closings, shouldn't handle the marketing. And so hopefully you're starting to see a point. So we get really clear on what it is your highest and best use. For me, I'm a high analytical. So any analytical work, numbers, figures, data, my bread and butter. Okay. But I don't like, actually, even though I'm analytical, I don't like accounting. I stay out of that. I don't really like marketing. I don't like any of that stuff, right? I like what we're doing now. I like coaching. I like working with people. I like one-on-one. I like helping people make progress in their life. And so with our clients and even with myself, we look at three things. What can we eliminate? What don't we need anymore? What can we outsource? And what can we automate? And in today's world with AI and technology, I mean, for $20 a month with ChatGPT, you can talk about productivity. Man, you can increase your productivity 1,000-fold. Things that used to take me hours and days and weeks and months, I can do now in minutes with AI and with technology. I mean, it's just gaining an exponential all the way to they used to have systems that would answer your phone, but not at the level they do today. Now you can have a full-blown conversation and pay like $2 a phone call with AI, and there's really no difference. In fact, the AI is doing better than the human would do. And so there's so many ways today to eliminate, to outsource, or to automate. And that would be another good thing to bring up in the Q&A tonight. Is there anything in your business you need help working through in that capacity? Or if you're not willing to share on the Q&A, to bring that up in the free strategy call, the free coaching call. And then we're going to just wrap this up here because I know we're getting short on time. We're going to just wrap this up with the alignment in the energy section. big part of my work and working with clients one on one. The business side of things, quite frankly, is the easiest part. The systems, the processes, the structures. The toughest part in coaching and working with people and helping people transform is what happens up here in the mind. It's the mind side of things. It's the opinions. It's the framework. It's the excuses. It's the old habits. It's all of these things that are getting in the way, and that's what we call the alignment side of this work. And that there's a lot that goes into that, but I want to give you some tips and tricks on the alignment side. And I just have a quote here: transforming the outer world starts with transforming your inner world. And so that everything that we experience in our outer world is a reflection of what we're believed to be true in our inner world. And so if you believe, for example, you're not lucky, you're not going to be lucky. If you believe, for example, the market is terrible, there's no business and no clients, that's going to be what's reflected to you in your outer world and in your business. If you believe, and I keep going back to marriages because I deal with this a lot with clients, if you believe that your marriage is terrible or your spouse is terrible, that's going to be your experience. If you believe that you always have to struggle and that you have to work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, then that's going to be your experience. I mean, we've already showed you tonight the complete opposite, just in the short time that we've had together. And so the alignment side of this aligned productivity is that inner work. And a lot of times it results in us having to build a new identity. The old saying is that to become somebody new, you have to die to your old self. You have to die to your old way of thinking, your old habits, your old opinions on everything and everyone. And we have to build that a new identity from the inside out. And then that becomes your new outer world. Now clients come to you instead of you chasing clients. Now you've got that time that you didn't have before to spend with your family. And so, a few notes here on this. Are you operating from fear or abundance? If you're operating from fear all the time, you're going to attract more scenarios and situations that instill fear. If your belief is that abundance is all around you, then abundance is going to show up in your life. Are you repelling or attracting? Moving away from wanting to see yourself already having, wanting to, so wanting cancels out. I do a lot of this work in my Imagination Creates Reality, where we teach you to live as if your wish has been fulfilled, to live as if what it is that you want has already happened, not wanting, not hoping, not desiring. So, for example, if you wanted, to experience just a random boost in income or money, or let's say you were looking for a job, that's probably a more simple example. You wouldn't visualize yourself in the process of looking for a job. You would visualize yourself already having that job. You would visualize yourself having a conversation with a friend or a family member that is saying to you, John, congratulations on your new success. And you would hear that with all of your senses. And you would feel that. And so, if anybody wants to dive more into the power of imagination, moving from what we call unconscious operating, unconscious creation to conscious creation, I encourage you to dive in and either get a free copy of my book in that free resources, Imagination Creates Reality, or to get an actual physical copy of the book. And this is kind of that inner work. The alignment side is kind of that inner work. And they always say, well, Dylan, don't you have to have action? Well, yes, you have to have action, but action is the natural next step. If you fully embody that you're living from the end of what it is that you want to achieve, you see it in your mind happening. As entrepreneurs, don't so many of us see ourselves where we want to be, see us in the house we want to be in, the car you want to be in, the vacations you want to be on, the revenue that you're earning, the office that you want to be in, the staff that you want to have, right? I mean, as entrepreneurs, you're always visualizing, you're always seeing yourself doing better and having these experiences. And so when you begin to combine that with faith, and not faith from a religious standpoint, but faith from like believing despite what your senses are telling you is going to happen. As entrepreneurs, we often get labeled as the crazy ones, right? Because we're like, nope, I know one day I'm going to be successful. One day I'm going to be earning $1 million a year. That's faith. And the people that end up there are the ones that have kept the faith despite the noise, despite the outer world, despite the friends and family saying you're not going to succeed, you're going to fail. It's the entrepreneur that says, nope, I'm going to keep my faith. I'm going to hold this vision. I'm going to see it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to touch it. And then it comes to be. And if it doesn't come to be, those are the entrepreneurs that quit 3 feet from the goal. They lost faith. They lost faith. They got consumed by the noise. And so a lot of this is the alignment side of the work that we do. Meditation is a powerful tool that we use on the alignment side, getting that mind chatter to calm down. Gratitude's a powerful tool that we use on the alignment side, spending every evening and every night just feeling thankful for what we do have, feeling thankful for what we know is going to show up in our outer world very soon. And so gratitude is a wonderful, wonderful way to kind of rebalance that inner work. With our clients, we use a lot of recontextualization. So taking those old stories, I'm not lucky, to I am lucky, abundance flows to me. Taking those old stories of the market's horrible, it's affecting my business, to there's opportunities in every market to succeed. I've got to stay flexible. I've got to stay nimble. God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, always provides for me. I don't know how, but they always provide for me. Instead of woe is me, my life is always miserable. So this is the alignment side of things. And quite frankly, that's really um, what we work on a lot in the one-on-one coaching with people is helping people build that new you, build that new identity from the inside out. And then just touching base on the energy side of things, just bringing to your attention um, the importance of exercise, the importance of diet, morning energy rituals, and things like that, right? And so to operate at our best, we need to feel our best, not just mentally, but physically as well. And your mental, of course, plays a big role on your physical side of things also, but also making sure that, and I'm not a big person any longer in my life to go out and do huge amounts of exercise, but I will always do something. I'll go for a mile or two walk. I'll work around the yard. Walking is one of the easiest things you can do, right? So we're not talking about like hitting the gym and, you know, gaining bulk and gaining mass and having these big complicated routines. No, just get the body moving, get the blood moving. Eating right. That's a big effect on people's energy levels, right? And so are you eating? They always say you are what you eat. Are you eating in a way that's giving you energy? Or are you eating in a way, in drinking in a way that is sucking life and energy away from you? And so I'm just touching on these things. But these, I just want, we talk about a holistic approach here, right? We're talking about aligned productivity. We're balancing our inner world. We're balancing our outer world. We're balancing our minds and our physical bodies. And we're executing in life and in business with clarity and with flow and with alignment. And so a lot of these things play a big role. Now, I know we're short on time and we move through that fast and furious. So let me just kind of close with a recap of some of the things here, and then we'll move into the Q&A, okay? Again, number one, if you haven't, join that newsletter. That's going to immediately subscribe you to every 5 to 7 days, really, really good, meaningful content to help on this aligned productivity framework, from mental tips and tricks to business tips and tricks to productivity tips and tricks to energy tips and tricks. I can't talk any longer, but to energy tips and tricks as well too. Okay, join that Inner Edge community. I want to see you in there. I want to engage with you. You could say, "Hey, Dylan, I saw you on the webinar. Boom, I'm here. How can you help? I'm ready to serve. Okay. Take advantage. Very few people, I don't know, like they're scared to talk to me or what the issue is, but take advantage of that 20-minute call. Maybe if you're like me, you've just been like, saturated with kind of like people, deceiving you into what that call is going to be. I'm not selling you a thing on that call. I want to help you. And so take advantage of that free strategy call. You can also book that on cadenacademy.com too, by the way. You can go up to one of these parts of the website. It's going to be here somewhere at all times, but I know I'm scrolling fast. Right there, book a free call. Boom. Okay, so you can do that there as well. And then apply. So anybody who says, Dylan, I want to work with you one-on-one. I really want to accelerate my progress over the next 90 days. You can go to cadenacademy.com or you can go to cadenacademy.com/apply. And then you can apply for one-on-one coaching. You can also just do that right in the same area we did book a free call. I think it's this client. Yeah, it's the client intake. So you can do that there as well too. And then new to this webinar is I'm developing, or actually have developed, a 12-week inner transformational course. So if you want to sink deeper into that inner work, if you want to be the conscious creator of your life versus the unconscious creator of your life, if you want to design your life of your own, you want to kind of undo some of these mental thoughts and patterns and habits that are holding you back, join me in that course. And again, that's on cadenacademy.com. And you'll see a link right here. It's front and center. You can sign up and learn more and join me in that 12-week course. And that is a wonderful thing to get involved in. It's 12 weeks of pure inner transformation. You're going to come out of it completely new you in a good way. And that also comes with live weekly coaching with me. And then we do expanded coaching throughout the week on lectures and book studies and things like that. So it's a wonderful program to be in. I also want to say sometimes these videos and webinars last the test of time and they're out there on the internet. So I always say, terms and subjects to any of these promotions are always subject to change. And so, like right now in that program, we're offering the first 3 weeks free. So it would be nice to get involved and get that for free. But, a year or 2 years from now, that might not be the case. Okay, so those terms are always subject to change, but a lot of resources for you all. Okay, let me stop my screen share here. Yeah, cadenacademy.com. Get that free content. Join the productivity challenge. Join the newsletter. Join the inner edge. Get involved in that course. At the very least, take the first 3 weeks for free. That might change your life. Lots of good stuff. I want to leave you all with some value. And so with that said, hopefully you got some value out of this, but most importantly, you've got some links, you've got some resources, you've got some downloads that you can kind of pursue after this webinar. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up for the Q&A. Now I'm going to get some water and chill for a moment here, allow you all a minute or two to kind of get your questions in order. Again, what do you need? Where are you stuck? Do you need some clarity? Do you have something that you need a breakthrough on? What are you trying to achieve in the next 90 days? What's that 1 to 2 to 3 needle movers that are going to make the biggest impact on your life and your business over the next 90 days? Start thinking about that right now. And then in about 3 minutes, I'm going to rejoin for all those who have stuck around for the live Q&A, and I will see you in the Q&A. Okay, so hang tight. Thank you all for being here this evening. Hopefully you got some value out of this webinar, but don't stop here. Take advantage of that phone call with me. Take advantage of that Inner Edge community. I can't stress that enough because we can go deeper, much, much deeper than we can on a group webinar. Okay, so hang tight. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for those who are sticking around. I see lots of great questions coming in, and I'll be back for the Q&A. Thank you, everybody.